Hey, everybody. We're back. Hi, Maureen and Denny. Ooh, Denny got 14 inches of snow. Holy moly. Ice, sleet, and snow. Yes. I was just reading what everybody's got on here. So what'd you think of the intro? See, I can wave at y'all down here. I'm going to give it a few minutes for everybody to come in. Uh-oh. Some came and then some left. I think it's weird. Yeah. So Chelsea's in Louisiana and they're getting pretty chilly. Yeah, I don't wear dresses too often. I wear skirts sometimes. Chelsea's cold down there. Yeah, I got down to like 40. So we have a full house here. Um, Sailor is here visiting. So we have a full house. And hey, Gumdrop, how are you? Hello, Deneen. Good to see you. There's Miss Cheryl. Hello. Are you guys ready to start the mal? So tonight we're going to start the Stitch in Crime mal. That's okay. And if you didn't, it's okay. It's if you want to, if you have a different size needle and you just want to practice the cast on, you could do that too. And then you could always come back and watch this later. Hello, Susan. Hello, Nisi. Maureen says didn't get above 25. Well, we actually got to 32 today, and there were some pretty good thumps when the big mound drift of snow fell off the side of my building over here because my building is the she shed is metal, and it fell off right there where I parked the car. It was thud. It just sort of slipped off. Needles at the ready. Whoop whoop. Okay, I'm going to do a couple of shout outs real quick. I really meant to do this last time. It was, yeah, I jumped a bit. I did jump. Hi, Beverly, come on in. We're going to be knitting. And if you're not knitting, it's okay. You could crochet as well. So let me just explain what we're doing. But first, I want to do the shout outs. So there is someone that I watch and that Denny watches, and I'm not sure who all else may watch him, but his name is Duty Ron. And if one of my moderators could put, like Denny, if you could, if you don't mind, put his link in the description box, I would really appreciate it. But Duty Ron is a really nice man, and he lives in New York State. He was a New York police officer, and he is still working up there. He's not active police, but he still works in that type of thing. Not really sure what his job is, but he has a YouTube channel. Thank you, Chelsea. And I really enjoy his channel, and he covers a lot of the cases that are going on today. So if you guys would go over and check him out, I would appreciate it. Also, a friend of his who is absolutely a sweetheart, and you guys will not be disappointed if you go over to his channel, and that is Joey Brooklyn. And Joey Brooklyn does tours, so he will give you a walk through downtown New York and stuff. And so those of us who have never been there, it's just the coolest thing. He did a walkthrough of the Christmas lights and all of that. Oh my gosh, he's a lot of fun. He just lost his dad recently, and he's just hasn't been doing as much. Um, and he's actually a smaller channel, but he's a wonderful guy, and I just wanted to shout him out too. And I know those are not regular Yarny people, but I had to shout him out because Joey Brooklyn said that his wife subscribed to me. So hello to you. I don't know your name, but if you're out there, hello. Okay. Also, hello, Terry, down in New Orleans. Hello to you. Um, Hello to all of you that are watching and don't comment, and it's okay if you don't. Just glad you're here. We're doing it's going to be called the Stitch in Crime. Oh, I had it written down because I want to have the right hashtag for it. Gosh, not sure what I did with. Oh, I know where it is. Yes, there's Joey Brooklyn. Thank you, Denny. Okay, scrap in crime. We're going to call it a scrap in crime Mal. So I'm going to put the hashtag in for you guys right now. It is scrap in crime blanket Mal. Make sure that went in right. Okay, good. That is our hashtag for this. You can you can send me pictures by email. You can put it in the Facebook group. You can do it on Instagram, whatever your heart desires. Hello, Kay. Hello to those coming in. Okay, so before I get started on tonight's story, and you guys, I'm so super excited about telling you about this story because it's really the reason that I started following true crime. But before we do that, I'm going to open this. And what I have here is a clover. It is a number 10. Can y'all see that? There you go. It's a number 10, 36 inch, 6 millimeter, 91 centimeter. Oh, that's nice. Oh, I'm so glad you understood it. I'm so glad you're doing them, Wendy. That makes me so happy. So happy. Hi, Patricia. Okay. So here is and this is a fixed circular, okay? Meaning it is fixed here, right at the end of the needle. It does not unscrew, which means it's not interchangeable. I cannot take these off and leave the project on it and use these needles on something else because these don't come off. Hi, Carrie. Good to see you. So this will be a little bit stiff when you first start, which is okay. No big deal. Trust me, you will, you'll wear it in once you start working with it and once you start getting your stitches on it. And this one I said was a 36. Now, if you have a longer one, that's okay too. Absolutely fine. And you actually could even use a 32 if you have that. And you could use a 10 and a half or a 6.5 centimeter if you have that. So, hey, Ola Joe. That's okay. We like replay watchers. Now, my phone is down on low, but I hope that you can't hear any reverberations or anything like that. Is my sound okay, everybody? Hello, Erica. Okay, I'm going to get now. This is my, it's got fuzz and hair all over it, but this is my bag that you can get on my spring for my merch. And it's full of scraps. Got lots of scraps in here. Now, before we cast on, I want to remind you guys about what we're making, okay? Now, for those of you that are going to be knitting, this is what we're going to be making. Now, if you would rather crochet, it's okay. But I'm wanting to see how many people I can get to start knitting. Trying to find, there we go. Trying to find both needles so I don't lose my stitches. So this is the blanket I started for Mr. Fiber way back when. Made out of scraps. It's nearly done. So once I start this blanket for you guys, I'm actually going to work on this one until I finish it, and then I'll go back to this one. We're just knitting. All we're going to do is cast on and knit. And if you don't have scraps, that's okay too. Just use whatever you want. Absolutely fine. And what did I do with it? My friend Jilly sent me I'm not sure what I did with it, but she sent me the dimensions and how many stitches would make each blanket. If I can find it, I will try to get it out and show that to you guys next time. But just watching that, it was enough to tell me that we're going to have to cast on 300 stitches. That's if you want it to be about a double size, almost a queen size once it's finished. So if we wanted to do a twin size, it's 250. So that's what I'm going to do on this one. This one I'm going to make a twin size. Absolutely, Laura. Yeah, so you guys need to decide what size blanket you want to make. What size, now I don't know how that is in crochet. If you were to do a queen size in crochet, I used to have that written down somewhere. So a twin is a 70 by 90, and a queen is a 90 by 90, and a king is a 110 by 110. That's inches. Okay. If you're going to make a throw, it would be a 48 by 60. So when you're crocheting, you would do enough of those stitches, you would chain enough of those stitches to where it would be that size. Now there's more than one way to cast on, but in the end, I have decided we're going to do the long tail cast on. The long tail cast on is probably the best cast on for most projects. Now, are y'all ready? Can you guys put a number 1 if you are going to be doing this project? Put a number 1 in the chat if you're going to be doing this project. Now I start with a little bit of a tail, and then I lay that on my needle, and then I hold it right here with this finger. Oh, good, good, good. Seeing some ones. Yay. Now I'm going to wrap it around and around and around. So that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. That's very loosely, you guys. Now I'm going to pinch it right there. And then I'm going to take all those off, and I've got it pinched, okay? Then I'm going to fold that. I'm still pinching and fold it. I'm going to bring that down. It's folded. See, there's my end. There's my ball that I'm working from. Here's where I pinched it. Okay, so I folded that in half. And we had 25. So right here, now we have 50. So I pinched it again. I'm going to do that again. And now we have approximately, this is approximate. Now we have approximately 100. Now, why am I doing this? I'm doing this so that I know how much of the yarn I need to cast those stitches on. Okay, now we're at 200. So 200 and then about half of that would be 250. I gotta, okay, yes. Now that I have it pinched at where the 250 would be, okay, sorry, I got my ball in the yarn all mixed up. Let me get myself straight. Hang on. Okay, so that's where the 250 is. Okay, that's our tail. Here's where I have it pinched for 250. My loop right there. Are y'all following me? You can use whatever you want, but I would suggest starting with 4-weight yarn. That's what this is. I think this is an impeccable, if I'm not mistaken. It looks like either impeccable or super saver. Yeah, the size blanket I showed in the beginning is probably larger than what this one will be. But remember that you're doing this in a knit stitch, a garter knit stitch. And garter grows. It grows sideways and it grows long ways also. but more sideways. Okay, so now we have our tail. All right, now we're going to put our needle on here. Ooh, where am I at? I always forget where the camera is on the phone, that it's on this end down here. Hello, Kimberly. Come on in. Hello, Divergent and Amanda. That does, I think you're right, Mexicano. I think you're right. That sounds absolutely like what it is. All right. All right, now it doesn't matter where you put your yarn that you're working with. It's up to you. I'm going to put mine. I really like to keep my yarn that I'm working with to my right. Okay, I usually hold the needle in my left hand, and I put the yarn over here to my right. And I'm going to put it over there, tucked in to where it won't roll off my desk. And now, see, I'm going to put that tail up there. Now you put your finger in between the two strands of yarn, and then you hold this. I also have a video for this in my knitting playlist. So if you get lost, even when you come back and you get lost, don't worry. There is a place where you can find it. So this is what it looks like from the top. And so now we're going to take this needle. We're going to take it over here to this side of this yarn that's on the thumb. And we're going to go under it. And now it's on the needle. And this always reminds me a little bit of Jacob's ladder. Hey, Froggy, come on in. I'm so glad you're here. Okay, now we're going to take that needle. We're going to go to this side of the yarn on this finger. And we're going to grab that yarn. Okay, so this yarn is here, and now we're underneath this one. Now you're going to bring that needle towards you to where you see that one. That's the one that we just picked up. And we're coming right in between and right through that circle that's on that finger, and on that thumb. Let the thumb go. Bring that yarn down to tighten it. And you just cast on. They want to come play in my snow. We still have quite a bit of it. I know. It does remind me of it, doesn't it? Okay, so I'm going to keep doing this, and you guys can keep practicing with me. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to cast on, and then we are going to, what you can do is you can place a marker every 25 or 50, and then you won't have to go back and recount it. But while I'm doing this, I'm going to start telling you the story of Faryon Wardrip. So are y'all ready for that? Let me take a drink. Hugs to you, Froggy. I know it's a tough time right now. Okay. So I'm going to just go slow while I talk to you guys. Hey, Lori. Good to see you. All right. So, and I had also forgotten to tell you guys, I do have another shout out. And it is to someone called Ashley. And she is the true crime librarian. Now, she also did a story and covered this same case, but I have not completely listened to hers yet. So there may be some similarities between what I tell you and what what her podcast says. She has a great podcast. I've just found her and have not gotten to listen to very many, but she does hers like a story. She tells a story. Hey, there's Terry. Hello. Glad you're here. I'm just about to start. We're casting on while I talk. So my moderators are going to say hello to you guys. Hello, everyone coming in. Thank you so much for being here. And now I'm going to start telling you about it. So his name is Faryon Wardrip. He was born on March 6th, 1959 in Indiana. Now, I'm not going to tell you a ton about him as far as his life or who he was or any of those kinds of things, because to be honest, I'm trying not to give him too much glory here. It's hard not to give him attention while you're telling the story. So he was the oldest of two. He has a brother named Bryce. And Bryce comes into play later on, where he talked and stuff to different people on, you will see him on different programs and stuff where he does talk. His name is Bryce. He's a really nice person, and his family was a very nice family. They were very, very upset about all of this, and it hit them really, really hard, and they pretty well have just disassociated themselves from Faryon. Now, Faryon is about 6'5", tall guy. At the time that he committed these crimes, he only weighed 200 pounds. Now, a 6'5" guy with 200 pounds is pretty tall and slender. Yeah, they did write him off. Absolutely. I will try to keep up with comments, but I can't. I'm looking at my notes, so it's really hard. Y'all forgive me if there's anything important. I hope someone will write it down so that I can answer it in a little bit. So he was a high school dropout. He left school when he was a junior, and he worked pretty well, didn't have any real job or schooling or anything, so he did odd jobs. He worked as an orderly, he worked as a janitor, and he was also, which I discovered this in my research, he was in the National Guard. And that really surprised me because I did not think that he could have become someone in the National Guard without having a diploma, because he did not get his diploma until he was in prison the second time. There are rumors or something somewhere, something I was not able to uncover, that he had been in prison before. So I'm not positive about that. I really did not find confirmation of that. Now, he married a woman named Jonna Jackson in 1983. And he has 2 children. I did not see anything about the children. I could not tell you the ages, the sex, the names, anything about the children. I just know that they had 2 children. I'd have to look it up again, Lori, Oh, I forgot that you were there. Gosh. Just write that down as a question and we can come back to it. So he was 24 at the time and they had 2 children. They split right before the first murder and they divorced in 1986. And 1986 was after the 5th murder. He has a total of 5 victims. It was suspected that he had more than that, but they haven't been able to confirm that. It's just suspected. Now, this happened in Wichita County, Texas. Wichita Falls. Now, where I am located right now, I am halfway between Wichita Falls and Abilene. So I'm about an hour north of Abilene, and I have to drive an hour and a half to get to Wichita Falls from here. This was a multi, what do you call it? Jurisdictional case, because some of the murders happened in the bodies were found in a different place, which put different entities into play jurisdictionally. Big word, jurisdictionally. So we had Wichita County, Wichita Falls, Archer County, and Fort Worth County, all involved. And at the time that this happened, you have to remember that DNA was not in play at this point in the 80s. The agencies weren't connected digitally, technically online by computer. They weren't connected. Those things were just so, some of what happened with this case was that without knowing what was going on in the other places, they didn't realize there were other cases out there. So it was a hot mess. Now, Wichita Falls at the time, it's bigger now, but at the time it was around 100,000 people. It's located northwest from Dallas, about 4 hours, y'all. 4 hours from Dallas, off of 287, and it sits very close to the Red River, like within 20 miles of the Red River and Oklahoma. So we're North Texas. We're considered North Texas, but where I'm at's also considered West Texas because we're that much closer and over to the Panhandle. Yeah, there you go. Ooh, she even spelled it right. Look at that. Now, the victims. The first victim was Terry Sims, and she was killed on December 21st, 1984. Tony Gibbs was found on February 15th, 1985. Deborah Taylor was killed in March of 1985. Ellen Blau was found on October 10th, 1985. And Tina Kimbrough was killed on May 6th, 1986. So I will get into it more after a while, but let me just say this. I lived in the same area as where his victims were, the same neighborhood. This is why It creeps me out to talk about it a little bit, but it's also why I was so interested in true crime. Because Terry asked me this question, and this is why. This is why it interests me. And the thing that interests me most is the forensics part of it and how they catch them and put them away. So, any questions so far? How are we doing on the knitting? Are y'all casting on? Yeah, they had no way to coordinate because they really, unless someone that was on a case talked to somebody from it, reached out, and it got to where they reached out to other counties and other cities and things and asked questions. But if they weren't doing that, oh, go Diamond Girl, go! She's at 200. Yay! Look at them all. Oh, that makes me so happy, you guys. Okay, now the district attorney's name, and I'm not really sure if he's still there now because I'm not positive. Shad's all ready. Okay. I'm going to keep going, casting on while I talk, because I'm going to be doing this blanket. So I've got to go ahead and cast it on. I can't show you the rest just yet. If you guys know how to knit, just turn your work and start knitting, and it will catch up. Oh, that's nice, Deb. Okay, Lori, thank you for being here. So Barry Maka was elected in November of 1984. So he inherited these cases because he wasn't sworn in November. He was elected in November, but then was sworn in after things started happening. And the first one was Lisa Boone, was Terry Sims. And she and her friend, Lisa Boone, came home to Lisa Boone's house. And she lived at 1509 Bell Street in Wichita Falls. And they were medical students at the local, they were medical students at Bethania Regional Hospital. And Bethania Regional Hospital was, wish I could put something on the end of this that wouldn't make that noise. Is that bothering you guys? I hope not. I don't know where my deals are for the end of them. Opening ceremonies. Oh, I didn't know that had started. So Bethania, at the time there were two hospitals. There was Bethania, which was a Catholic-run hospital, and there was Wichita General, and now there is only where Wichita General is now called United Regional Healthcare, and they combined the hospitals. And no, where Bethania was, where Wichita General is gone. They took it down, and that's where Chelsea was born. She was born at Wichita General. So these girls were working at Bethania, and I think they were going for radiology, EKG radiology. Well, Lisa took Terry's keys, and Terry decided to stay at Lisa's house until Lisa got off, because Lisa went back. They had gone to a little Christmas party, and then they left there and went back to Lisa's house because Lisa took a second shift at the hospital. Okay, good. Well, I stuck it on my deal, so maybe it won't make that noise. I know when people have earphones on, sometimes they hear things. So Lisa leaves and goes for her shift, and she takes Terry's car. And Terry is in the house, and there's a knock on the door. She goes, she opens the door, and he pushes immediately Faryon Wardrip, who's a lot taller than her, pushes the door in and begins to assault her. He, in all of the cases with the victims, they were not all sexually assaulted, but she was. She was stabbed. She was tied up. She was tortured. Terrible things that he did to her. And he admits that the one thing he remembers about all of the cases is that he just threw them all over the place, that he really went into a rage and was just terrible, just all over the house, just threw them into things, just beat them all over the place. And he said that it was because he was mad at his wife, because they had split up right before this first murder. He was also doing a lot of drugs. Now, the methamphetamines that they had back then are not exactly the same methamphetamines that they have now. So it's believed that what he was doing was either cocaine and, whatever he could get his hands on, and drinking. So he also leaves behind semen and a bloody fingerprint on her shoe where he took her. He had hit her. He already had her blood on it, and he touched her shoe when he pulled her shoe off, and he left a big old fingerprint right there. When Lisa gets home, she has Terry's keys, and she can't get in the house, and Terry does not answer. So she had to go get the landlord, and the landlord let her in, and they found Terry, and then they called the police department, and they had everybody out there. Now, I'm going to show you guys a little thing from Google Maps. Okay, Rosie, thank you for being here. Hello, Tiffany. Okay, I'm going to share with you Okay, this is Bell Street. Can everybody see okay? I'm going to make this bigger, and I will, let's see. There we go. This little house was the house where Terry Sims lived. And this is the street right in front. Can y'all see my arrow? This is Bell Street. Let me play this a little bit. That's a stop sign I was just pointing at there. Okay, so we went basically one block. not even a full block. And what we have come into, the stop sign that I showed was back over here. Now we are going to go this way. That's the corner. We go down about 10 houses. And this is where I lived. This is where I lived on the night that Terry was killed. That's my front porch this porch right here, this is a duplex. And I lived in this one with my husband, my first husband. You can go with the 220, Robin, if you want to. Whatever you want to do. However, if you feel like it's too long. So I will tell you more later why I think that I was very lucky. But I want you to know where I lived in relation to this area. This is, oh, sorry, my Fitbit was doing something. This is, yeah, holy moly is not, yeah. Now you guys know. Let me see, I can't remember if there's anything else on this. No, that's the end. Okay. Very, very close. Yes. So this first murder happened on the 21st of December, 1984. And I was living with my first husband. We actually weren't married yet. We did not get married until August of 85. No, that's not right. We got married in August of 84. So we were married. This was right around Christmas, remember? And I don't know why that I did not realize that something had happened. I guess because it was around the corner. I don't remember hearing it. I don't remember any of that. And I had no telephone at the time. You know, we didn't have cell phones. I didn't have a house phone at that time. My husband at the time was working and I was home. But you were 8. Did you say something out loud? Holy moly, was not what you said out loud, huh? Okay. I'm going to go on and we'll come back to it, okay? We'll come back to my story, but I want to go on and tell you some more of what was going on. Okay. So we move forward to the fact that the next victim, which was Tony Gibbs, she went missing in January, and she was found in February. Oh, really, Patricia? See that now? Shepherd Air Force Base was the base that's the base in Wichita Falls, and it's still there to this day. Wow. So that was, when did you leave though, Patricia? You don't remember this, do you? February 15th, 1985, Tony Gibbs is found, and she is found in a field just over the county line into Archer County. A man named Charlie Hayes, he was an electric company worker, and he was checking a transformer, and he found her, and he thought she was a mannequin. And when he realized she was not a mannequin, okay, was right before. Well, was that before or after the tornado, Patricia? Because there was a tornado on April 15th, 1979. And by the way, that was before I got there. So Tony was found just to the side in a field of, there was a trolley car that was out in this field, an old beat up trolley car. And he had taken her out there, and he strangled her, he sexually assaulted her, he stabbed her, he tortured her. Both of these girls, both Terry Sims and Tony Gibbs, they both fought like crazy. They all fought. So he was very mad, very angry. And she crawled out into the field. She was even trying, even after he left her there for dead, to survive, and didn't make it. So they found her on the 15th. Now we go forward. Now, here's the thing. Tony Gibbs was a nurse at Wichita General. And there are some similarities between the victims here. And it comes into play later on when the investigation starts. Oh my gosh. Right after the tornado. Isn't that amazing? Yeah, these are all true crime. However, Tiffany, we may talk about shows and things like that too. So we move forward to October 10th, 1985. And that's when Ellen Blau is found. She was found on 240, which is out by the base. Patricia, you know where 240 is. 240 goes to Burnett. So, Nisi, you would know where that's at. A lot of people may know that are listening that may know where 240 is. And she was found. It was after the base on a road, and there was a man out there, a farmer. He was mowing grass, and he found her. And again, he thought she was a mannequin. But when he got closer, he saw that she had an ankle bracelet and a little sock on the other foot, so he knew that this was a woman's body, and so he called. But because it was just outside of city limits, then it put it in the sheriff's jurisdiction. So we have a Wichita Falls for Terry Sims. Tony winds up in Archer County. And then Ellen winds up outside of city limits, which brings in the Sheriff's Department of Wichita County. Now, the sheriff at that time was Sheriff Tom Callahan. And he was, I don't even know if he's still around. I don't think he's sheriff anymore, 30 some odd years ago. But he was a really nice man. I mean, that man went to everything that I could imagine. He was one of those that was very, very into the community, very much so. And he found Ellen, and I think even some people wondered, well, he didn't find her, but he handled the case. And anyway, he was a nice man, but that put him into his jurisdiction. But there wasn't a lot they could do because she had been there for a while, which meant there was no evidence there. There was no fluids. They had to identify her with her, um, her dental records and all of those things. I knew Ellen. Ellen and I worked together at Bennigan's restaurant. She had a bicycle. She rode her bicycle everywhere. I'm very connected to her case, especially in this, because of having known her. Now, I didn't go anywhere with her. We didn't hang out. But I knew her. She had a bicycle and she called it Trigger. And it was strange to me today when I found that little tidbit about the man that saw the bracelet on her, the anklet on her ankle, because I remember her wearing that. So she had been working out by the base at a place called Subs and Suds. And it was right on the corner. It's hard. You guys don't know how creepy and hard and everything else this is. But I really wanted you to know about this case because this is where I started in following true crime and forensics especially. So she worked at Subs and Suds, and somehow he told them that he made her drive out there in her own car, and then he took her car and abandoned it in a parking lot. So that is exactly, I forgot to tell you that's what he did with Tony Gibbs' car. It was said that she might have given him a ride, but at some point he pulled a knife on her and made her drive out to Archer County. Hey, how are you, Miguel? And then he brought her car back, and he parked her car, Tony Gibbs' car, in the same neighborhood as me, in the same neighborhood as Terry Sims. So that was another freaky thing. All right. I got to take a drink. I got to take a quick breather, you guys. You're thawing out. Awesome. We thawed out a little bit today, Miguel. I got to turn on my fan. I got hot all of a sudden. I think here is where I'm going to stop for a minute, and I want to show you guys a picture. And I'm not going to show crime scene pictures here, you guys. We're not doing that. But I do want to share with you pictures of the victims, just so you guys can. It's rough, Kimberly. I've been working on the research again because I know this story really. I also read a book, and I have a link to the book down below, and it's Scream at the Sky by Carlton Stowers. And I'll talk more about him and his book here in a little while. But yeah, it's really, really close to home. Okay, now let me see. This is Faryon Wardrip. This is what he looked like at the time of the murders. This is right. This is when they brought him in. That's his jail picture. Now, this picture here, the small one, that is the picture that the day that they brought that he was finally caught. And they brought him in and questioned him for all of these murders. That's in court. That's Terry Sims. Tony Gibbs. This picture is still on the wall in a hallway at Wichita General. Was in the hallway at Wichita General. I don't know what they did with it whenever they took the building down, but it was still there when my girls were born. That's the trolley where she was killed and where her body was found close to it. Now this is Deborah Taylor, and we'll talk about her later, but she was actually the next one killed. That's Ellen. They were all very young, but he was 25 when he did all of this. Now this is Tina Kimbrough, and this was his last victim. He actually did not sexually assault her. He did strangle her, and he suffocated her, and he beat her up pretty bad. And he actually went to jail for her. Now, I can later on I can give you a link to this, but this is actually my phone looks like it's buffering. This is actually a lot of stuff about the court case and stuff like that, and we can refer back to it later. So you were 15, 16 at the time? Yeah. Yeah, see, my phone just went away. I'll have to. Oh. Got to reconnect with my phone, you guys. It's buffering. Their lives were way too short. They were. Oh, there we go. Now I'm back, I think. They were all in their 20s. Now, he was 25 when he committed, between 25 and 27, because this was 1984 to 1986. And I would have been 20. He was doing drugs, yeah. I may have to go out and come back in. Hey, Tank. All right, let's see. Oh, I hope my Looks like we were both buffering for a minute there. My internet has been a little bit flaky because of the cold weather. So I'm really hoping. No. I think there was rumor that his ex-wife was a nurse, but I don't know that for sure, Cheryl. How are you tonight, Tank? My phone may have just got hot. We'll let it cool off, you guys. It's a little warm. But it keep casting on though. We don't sound too sure. Oh, the cold is hard on us. It's been really hard on me, I know. Okay, you guys ready to keep going? Oh, good. Jumping all day too. I really think it's the cold. I can't prove that, but I think it is. So, after Tony Gibbs was murdered, there was a guy named Danny Laughlin, and they brought him in because he started bragging that he knew Tony Gibbs. He worked at a club at that time called the Stardust Club, and it was a honky tonk, right? You know, honky tonk, honky tonk, donka bonk. I don't know how that goes, but you know what I'm talking about. So I don't really know what really happened between him and his wife. I know that they split. Yeah, see, this thing is like blinking on me. Is that better? Can you hear me now? That's it. Shad's already on row 3. Go, Shad, go. Is anybody else knitting now? Are you all still casting on? It's too hard to show you this way. Hello, Alicia. Yay. So Daddy Laughlin worked at the Stardust. Well, guess what? Faryon Wardrip worked at the Stardust. Faryon Wardrip worked at the door checking IDs. Can you imagine how easily it would be for him to remember where somebody lived? Isn't that crazy? I used to go to the Stardust with my husband. Almost every weekend at that time, we were going to Stardust. Chad's doing the twin size. Oh, Deneen, that's so good, though. I'm so happy. I'm so happy you're doing it. Oh, you're ready for row 2. She's all cast on. I know. Y'all have her talking. Let me keep going here. Okay. So he was bragging at the club that he knew Tony Gibbs, and he said that he had this dog that was like pet part wolf, and that he had been out in that field, and his dog had sniffed her body and all of this stuff. And then later on, he got himself in jail. He was a petty thief. He used to rob grocery stores or, convenience stores and He just was always in a lot of trouble. And so he was in the Archer County Jail. And I always have a hard time with these when they say that he was in jail with someone and he told them that he had killed this person. It's just so hard whenever they do that, whenever they say that they have an informant or somebody, the other person who's in jail wants out too. So that always, I have trouble with those kinds of things. But, oh, I have plenty of moderators. Thank you. Are you making a blanket? Oh, that's awesome. Are you knitting or crocheting? So then he tells this person he's in jail with in Archer County that he killed Tony Gibbs. So they indict him. They indict Danny Laughlin for the murder. Well, the jury is hung 11-1. Somebody didn't believe that he did it, so he did not get convicted. And then they were back to square one trying to figure out who had done it. And Danny Laughlin died in 1993 on his motorcycle in Colorado Springs. Another irony of ironies. Your cast on is always a little tight. It's a lot tighter than any other row. And Danny Laughlin was buried in Missouri, back to where his family was from. And his mother was seen on a program or a newscast or something that talked about how she just wished that he had lived long enough, because he had gotten himself together, off drugs and all that stuff, and had a good job and moved on with his life. And she wished that he had, yeah, seriously, yeah, wished that he had known that he got cleared, because they cleared him with DNA later on. So in May, now we're going to move forward to the last murder, which was Tina Kimbrough. Yes, gonna knit a blanket. Tina Kimbrough was a very sweet girl that was working as a bartender and a waitress at a local, and I haven't been able to find out what the name of the place where she was working was, but they said it was a local hotel, and I just cannot remember. The book I read was so long ago, and I can't remember where she worked. I wish I could. I tried to find out, but I just was not able to find that information. But she was working at a local hotel, down in their bar down below. And Faryon Wardrip would go in there and talk to her. Well, of course, you're a bartender. You listen to people. You listen to what they got to say. Hairdressers and bartenders, we listen to everybody's problems and all of those things. I like that idea, Walisha. And he went home with her, and they think that what he did was he went home with her, and he really liked her. He really liked Tina. He didn't have any animosity toward her when they went to the house. They were actually cordial. Everything was going great. And then I think that he tried to do something, and when she said no, he just went off. That was it. And he smothered her with the pillow off of her couch. They found those fibers in her lungs. So, again, Another case where he just lost control, where he went into this fit that he would go into. And so that was on May 6th of 1986, and he was seen, someone close to the apartments. This was at the Rain Tree Apartments. And someone had seen him leave, that he was, suspicious. He was running away, ducking. He didn't have a car. He was on foot. And he knew he had been seen because he saw somebody and knew that they had seen him leaving. He left Wichita Falls and went to Galveston, Texas. Now that's south, way south. Yes, a mindless rage. And while he was in Galveston, evidently he got to thinking about things, and he called the Wichita Falls Police Department 3 days later and told them that he was going to kill himself and they needed to come and get him because he had killed Tina Kimbrough. So they drove. I don't know how it all played out. Someone was called to go and get this guy, and he wound up in the back of this police car on the way back to Wichita Falls. And somehow in the conversation, he said something about knowing Ellen Blau. And this got put in as a note in the file, in Ellen's file. But nobody really connected it. And this was the problem with this multi-jurisdictional. See, now you've got Galveston, but there's no crime there. There's all these different places and nobody's talking. So he gets convicted of her murder and gets 35 years for her murder. And I'm guessing that part of the reason, I don't remember, that Murderpedia thing that I showed you may have more information on why he only got 35 years, but I think it was because at the time they couldn't prove that he had sexually assaulted her, and some other things, so he got 35 years. He only served 11. Got out on parole in 1997. He moved to Olney, Texas. And in Olney, Texas, it was said that he had been pen paling with a woman from Olney and that she belonged to a church there, was called the Hamilton Street Church, and that he moved there, he married her, he started going to church there, he taught Sunday school there, he got a job at what was it called? It was called the Olney Screen and Door, and was just living life on parole. Yes, a lot of them, he said that. He said that he said that a lot of these women, it would remind him of her, and he was taking out his frustration about his wife on these women. That was his excuse for the rage that he went into. And his wife divorced him in 1986 after he was convicted. So that's why I'm saying with his kids, I'm sure he did not get to see those kids. I don't know whether he got to see those kids after he was paroled or not. I couldn't tell you. But somebody had asked that question. While he was in jail, while he was in prison, Tina Kimbrough's father went to see him. It was the victim offender mediation program where they get to talk. Did you go ahead in the story? That's okay. I'm getting there. 35 years and just recently released. Wow. You're just going to have to wait, Denny, till I get caught up. And he sat across the table from Wardrip, and Wardrip told him a story of how it happened, how he wound up killing Tina. But the story he told was different than all of the evidence and different than what he said when he was arrested. And Mr. Kimbrough said, I am convinced that he was telling what happened with another murder. That's okay. You're fine. I'm happy you're keeping up with it. Okay, you guys. I'm gonna leave my tail. Let me see if I can get my phone hooked up so we can see what I'm doing now. Okay. Now we're going to go into the investigation. Now, if you're wanting to know what actually happened to him, he is on death row now. As of now, he is on death row in Livingston, Texas. How are we doing? I'm actually doing better than I thought, you guys. I'm trying to make this a little bit more easy to follow. Hello to anybody I missed coming in. I really appreciate you being here. For those of you that are watching back, thank you so very much. Let me see if I can get my phone connected. Oh, one of my library books is ready. The Defense Lawyer. I don't know who wrote that one. Okay. Going in here. There might be a little bit of noise as I connect. There we go. It is a fascinating case, Denny, for sure. And you guys, I have linked down below, I have linked for you a couple of places where you can watch forensic files and things that were, yay! I think my phone was just hot, is why it quit on me. Let me make it a little bigger. See all my notes? And notes and everything. Now let me show you where I'm at. Got all my stitches on there. All right, now work with me, would you? Now, you don't have to worry about twisting your work because we're not going to connect them. So there's no worry about what it's doing there. Free and easy. You just keep on keeping on. Okay, let's see. Can y'all see okay? Now that purple bit right there, that's my tail. And this bit right here, that's my working yarn. We're going to take the needle. And remember, some people are going to be watching this back, so I'm going to go ahead and show how we do this. Oh, I'm so glad, Tony. I'm so glad you're here. So we're going to take our needle, we're going to insert it to the left of the stitch. We're going to push in at the bottom and push it out through the back. That's what the needles look like. Now we're going to take this yarn. And I want to tell you guys, I usually am not someone who teaches you how to hold your needles and how to hold your yarn. I'm one of those people that feels that you kind of find your own way eventually on how you do it. I am a thrower. So I'm going to throw that yarn around the back, and it's going to wind up right in between those needles. Then this right needle, I'm going to slide it down, and I'm going to pick up that yarn, push the needle through so that that is now on that needle, and then I'm going to lift the right needle off of the left needle so that now that stitch is on the right needle. Oh, I know, right? So much to keep up with. I watch cooking stuff too, and that draws me in, and I'll be watching one right after the other. Okay, so to the left, or the knit stitch goes into the left of the stitch, down to the bottom, and through to the back. Now, that means that both of these needles are now in that same stitch. Okay, we're going to take that yarn, bring it around the back, and up through the center. Come on, phone, hang with me just through this. Now we're going to slide the right hand needle down and scoop up that stitch. Push the right needle up into it. Now pull it off of the left needle. Yeah, that's what Shad was saying, Denny. Do I ever turn the needles? You mean turn it like this? Yes, at the end of the row. And this is how we knit. Just like that. Okay, I'm going to keep doing this while I talk. Y'all ready for me to move on to the investigation? It's like slow-mo. And see, sometimes it gets a little bit hard to get that needle in there. So let me show you a trick. Are you talking about me? No. My phone is turned down, but I can every now and then, if I'm kind of loud, I can hear it. Let me turn. Hello, HD. Let me bring this down just a little bit, my laptop. Is that better, Chelsea? So here's the trick. If you are having trouble getting your needle in over here, you can go into the back. So you go back here, you pick it up right here. Now you have that stitch on your needle, right? All you do is dip down like this in the front, take this left needle and push it back there. Wait, I did that wrong. All right, I did it wrong. Hang on. There we go. And do it through the back. No, you wouldn't be able to hear his. And you shouldn't be able to hear mine unless it's still connected. You know, I've seen that happen sometimes when you go and you come out. You go in and you come out. Hold on. Is it any better, Chelsea? Does anybody else hear it? Oh my goodness. 3.5 hours. Wow. Okay. It may have been something up here. I may have hit just the right button. That's what it is. I had to work it without talking to y'all for a minute to figure out my little trick, okay? So let me show you one more time. You come in the front right here. You go over. You're going to go basically take this needle and go over the other needle to the back. So like that. Make sense? Okay. I'm going to keep going. Okay. In March of 1990, Barry Maka, who is the district attorney, he asks for DNA because now we've got DNA coming in, right? These cases have been sitting. They've been sitting. They've been sitting. He asks for DNA comparisons. He wants to compare a co-worker of Sims and Gibbs because he had a suspicion about a co-worker of theirs, and so he had the DNA compared to him. He came back with not being a match. Then he had that DNA compared to Danny Laughlin. Later on, and not a match. he starts to drive around to different places where the murders occurred, and he starts to make connections. This is the district attorney, Barry Mock. I had a friend that worked at the courthouse. Her name was Carol. Chelsea, you know Carol. She was a court reporter. She actually went on a trip with Barry Mocco. We went down to Mexico, her and her husband. And that's a side story. It's amazing how small Wichita Falls could be at 100,000 people. Oh yeah, we're not even there yet. Okay, let me just do this. I'm gonna turn my phone off and then just talk to you guys. Okay, hold on just a minute. Is it better now? And actually, phone's getting hot again. You know, they let them get hot at a certain point, and you have to get a new one. It's not better, so it's not that interesting. I only have one window open. It'll probably, if it was that, it just probably hasn't left yet. It takes a little bit. Sometimes it's still connected. We're just knitting now, guys. A man's voice from a faraway place. Wow. I was just going to say that you guys probably hear Duke because we have coyotes. Because it's so still out right now, the wind's not blowing, and it's super super cold and very very still out. And I'm telling you, Duke has been on it the last 2 nights. He will not come in the house. Um, yeah, UFOs hacking into my computer. Yeah, so see, it's probably Duke. He's right outside my the she shed, and he's barking at coyotes. Yeah, he stopped barking. That's what it is, Chelsea. You're hearing Duke. That's why I'm sensitive to things like the needles and stuff. Okay, so now I'm going to show you another video, you guys. Yeah, it was Duke. All right, this right here, this building, this is also on Bell Street. This was in my neighborhood. And this building is where a lady named Janie Ball lived. Now, Janie Ball is the one who interviewed me when I went to work at Bennigan's. And she and Ellen were friends, and Ellen would stay at her house. She would stay here at her apartment. When Faryon Wardrip and his wife split, He lived across the hallway from them. Now let me show you where this is at. That's Bell Street, the same street where Terry Sims was killed. And Barry Maka was driving around because I don't know. Now that's Avenue E. Now we go one more block to Avenue F. Well, yeah. Down there was where I lived. You go across Avenue F, and again, we're back to where Terry Sims was killed. So Barry Maka would drive around this neighborhood, and Tony Gibbs' car was found in this neighborhood also. And now we know because he was, yeah, more than likely if he was. It's said that in a lot of nights that what he was doing, and now I'm going to tell you the freaky part, okay? A lot of nights what he was doing when he was just walking. He would go score his drugs, whatever he had, whatever was going on, and he would walk around and he would get angry and he was mad at his wife because they were split up, they had kids and all of his life is crap and, blah, blah, blah. Well, he would walk around. He wound up on my porch. I was home and I cannot tell you for sure that it was December 21st, but I'm pretty sure it was. And my husband was at work. I had no phone in the house. I was watching TV. I had just washed the dishes. Yes, I had just washed the dishes and I had them all on the counter. And I had washed the coffee pot and put it, everything was done. Everything was as it was. And I had gone back. I was walking through the house when somebody knocked on the door. And that door had a peephole. Now my porch light wasn't on. I didn't expect anybody. I turn on my porch light. My door is bolted, is locked and bolted. The way that house was situated was the other side was all storage. And so there was nobody next door to me in that same, because it was a duplex. The people we rented from were right next door. But, their car was between me and, so really just me. Parking, like driveway, you could see that was right there, and then the house next door. So really just me. In the back, you went through the kitchen, and then there was a small little hallway. So there was a door, kitchen, the back door was there, and then there was this little hallway, which was like a little mudroom, and then a second door. All of those doors were locked, right? So I turn on the light, and here's this guy, and he's standing. I look through the peephole, and he looked like my husband's brother. Now, my husband's brother was known to do drugs, went to jail a few times for it, looked pretty scraggly looking. Looked a lot like that picture I showed you of Faryon Wardrip when they picked him up. And I looked at him and I was like, oh, that's not him. I don't know who that is. I turned the light off. I backed up, and we had a arch, and I went behind that so he couldn't see me. And I just stood there and waited. And he stomped and was screaming back and forth on the front porch. And then it finally stopped. And right about that time, I kid you not, the coffee pot fell off of the dishes in the kitchen onto the floor. And I just knew he'd come in the back door. And I was absolutely frozen with fright. I nearly peed right there, standing there. And I just stood there and waited. So I figured I'd go through the front door. Nothing happened. I don't know how long I stood there. I really don't know how long I stood there. All I know is finally everything was quiet. Nothing happened. I walked through the house and everything was fine. Yeah. I can tell you that I sat in a chair. There was no TV. No, I just sat there and waited until my husband got home because I was so scared to even leave the house. I just waited. And I did not think anything else about this, you guys, until years later when they brought him in. I had a friend that I worked with at a local, it was a local hotel, and I worked in the restaurant with her. And years later, after I married the girls' dad, and by this time I had both of the girls, because he was arrested in 1999. My friend, her name was Evelyn, and she called me and she said, there's a program you need to watch. Okay. What? She goes, it's going to be on, and you need to watch it. I can't tell you anything else, but you need to watch it. Okay. So I watched it, and then I called her. She's called me after you see it. Her current husband was an assistant detective to John Little. And John Little was the detective that took over these cases. And she knew my story. And the minute that went up on the TV and his picture went up, I said, it's him. I knew right then it was him as soon as I saw that picture of him. That's why that scares me whenever that picture is up. It really freaks me out to look at that picture. It was, but they didn't remember the time frame. That's why I was telling you ahead of time, Denny, that it was, they didn't connect things. This was multi-jurisdictional. They didn't have the DNA. That's what these cases do. And these are the cases that fascinate me. Because eventually, oh, there goes Sailor. Sailor! Doggy time. Let's diffuse it just a little bit with the doggy. That's why I call him Mushroom Butt, by the way. What are you doing, bud? Where are you going? Sailor. Where are you going? I don't know what he's doing. I think he's looking for a toy. What you looking for? Oh, my sweetie. Cerberus is down here too. So now you know, guys. Now you know why this has fascinated me so much. Hello, Sindrine. So in 1996, Maka has the DNA, because he can. He has the Sims case and the Gibbs case compared and finds out that the same DNA is found on both of them. So now he knows for sure they're connected. Yeah, they're keeping me company. That helped a lot. In January of 1999, he hands this case over, but they don't have a suspect. He had several people tested. You know, anytime somebody came through that could be a suspect, he had them tested to that. Nobody fit it. But remember, he went to jail. 1986, Wardrip went to jail for Tina Kimbrough. So John Little was a bricklayer, and he remembers when Tony Gibbs went missing, and he went out looking for her. He knew Tony Gibbs. His wife and Tony Gibbs were in a sorority together. Yeah, he's close. My husband's just around the corner if I need him. And he becomes a detective. And he gets handed this case. And it was something that he really wanted to solve because he was handed a whole pile of cold case files that he became that guy. They didn't really have a name for them back then, that the cold case detectives at that time. And so all of these similarities start. Yes, he is. He is in the federal database. Absolutely. All of these cases start to come together. John Little figures out that Wardrip, when Ellen Blau became missing, Wardrip was living out by the base. That's why she was found out there, because he was living out there. And he knew Ellen and Janie because of Bell Street. He was close to Terry Sims because of Bell Street. There was some evidence he might have known Terry Sims and Lisa Boone because of them working at the hospital. He was a janitor at Wichita General, and that's how he knew Tony Gibbs. All of these things started to come together. He left Tony Gibbs' car in that neighborhood. We find out later he lived there for a while after his wife and him split. All of these things started to come together, so Little was like, we need to look at this guy, because he opened up this case for Ellen. And he found Wardrip's name and realized that nobody had pursued that. Nobody. And he said, who is this guy? Why has nobody talked about this guy? And he started to find out all of these things about Wardrip and all of this stuff. And he's like, I gotta go see this guy, who is now living in Albany, now working out here. And so here's what former bricklayer John Little decides to do. And y'all, they have They at one point had a picnic for John Little because everybody was so happy that he solved this case. But he goes and he hangs out in Albany at a laundromat. And the laundromat is right across the road from Albany Screen and Door, where Mr. Wardrip is working. And he watches him. And Wardrip's wife would come at lunchtime and bring, he can't go anywhere. He's restricted because he's on parole. And he sits in her car and he has a coffee break and he has some some crackers and some cheese crackers, those orange ones. Well, John Little's bringing his laundry. His wife's pretty happy, he said, because he's doing all the laundry. And he hangs out at the laundromat and he watches, and he sees him with this each day with this coffee and these cheese crackers. He's got this whole habit of doing this. And he throws it into this trash can right there in the lot. And he's like, I need that cup. I really need that cup. So he one day he sees him still there, and he's just across the street. So he says he puts in some chew in his mouth, and he goes over and he says, "Hey man," he says, "you got a cup? I need a spit cup." Wardrip says, "Yeah, right in there, right where he had just thrown his cup." And John Little says, he looks in there. There's a lot of cups in there, but there was one with cheese crackers on the rim. I'm not making this up, y'all. This is exactly what happened. He says, "Oh, okay." And he takes that cup. He goes back to the laundromat. He gets in his car and he drives to Fort Worth, Texas, and takes that cup to the gene screen DNA lab where they've been having all of the stuff done to have it tested. And it comes back positive. It comes back as a match to Sims and Gibbs. Now, can you imagine? Can you even imagine? It's crazy. The match came back 4 days later. So they get him to come in, and they tell him he's got, his parole officer calls him. So we need to have a meeting. I know. Absolutely. And that's what Barry Maka told him. He says, if you can get some DNA, man, he said, and what we need him to walk away from it. Because I don't need to have any kind of search and seizure or any kind of issues with it at all. He needs to just, put it down, cigarette, something. So the parole officer tells him, you got to come in. So he comes in. Well, instead of the parole officer, it's John Little. It's Sheriff Callahan. Not Sheriff Callahan. It's I think Callahan. I can't remember who was in the meeting, but it was Little and somebody else in the meeting. And they have pictures. I mean, for a bricklayer, and they don't call them bricklayers anymore, though. They call them I can't remember. There's another word for it now. Bricklayer used to be the blue collar name for it. Mason, working in masonry. Anyway, Wardrip won't tell him anything. They try. Yeah. There it is in masonry. They put the pictures out there. They ask him these questions. He goes, I don't know that girl. He won't tell them anything. Well, they don't need him to even say anything. They have his DNA. So they arrest him. Yes. Everybody's on it. Thank you. And they arrest him, and they've got him in jail. And the next day he calls them and he said, I need to talk with that investigator, that little guy. They bring him back in, and he tells them exactly what happened. He confesses to all of them. And that's when he tells them about Deborah Taylor. So sometime between, let me refer back to my notes, but it was between Tony Gibbs and Ellen Blau, because Tony was in February and Ellen was found in October. Deborah Taylor was killed in March of 1985. He went to Fort Worth. He went to a bar. Deborah Taylor had been there with her husband. The husband was tired. He went home early. And he asked to buy her a drink, asked her to dance, and then asked her if they could, if she needed a ride home. They get out into the parking lot, and he assaults her in the parking lot. He kills her, and he throws her body into, behind a dumpster. And her husband, Kenneth, was a suspect in that for 14 years. 14 years. Masons are meticulous and patient. Oh, well, he definitely was that when he investigated this case. So he was convicted in 1999 for one murder and pled guilty to 3 others. And as I said, he is still on death row. He's had appeals. He actually had in an appeal, he had his death sentence overturned. And in 2010, he was resentenced to death. So now let me play you. I have a little clip. I think I do. Do I? Hold on. Let me see if I can find it. And this is from very recently. I know. And he said he's just lucky that they found him first. And it ruined that man's life because, they always look at the husband if they don't have a suspect. They tend to look at the husband. Well, I don't know if I can share it or not. Let me see if I have a file here. I don't know if I do. No, I don't think I have it as a file. I wish it would let me share my screen, but it may not do that either. Let me see, and I know what you're thinking, Chelsea, if you're watching still. Chelsea may have to go put the boys to bed, y'all. I'll see if I can pull it up on my tablet. Yeah, they made his life hell for 14 years. Is that what you read, Denny, when you went ahead? So how many rows have you guys got done on your blanket? I know Shad was on row 3. Yo, I'm proud of myself. I got through this story in 2 hours. I did not think, I thought I was going to have to do this one in 2 episodes. I really did. Oh, 1.5? Cool. Too involved in the story, I know. The little shelf that looks like a quilt. You're kidding. This one? You know, that's hand painted. Awesome. It's going to be a nice row 7, row 2.5. Oh, you guys are making me so happy that you're doing this with me. You do not know how happy that makes me. Oh, I'm so happy. Okay. Let's see if I can find it real quick. Here it is. It's only about 1.5 minutes.
Hopes of getting one step closer to appealing his conviction.
Tyler Manning joins us now live in studio with an update on Faryon Wardrip. Tyler.
Good morning, Derek and Daniela. What could take place today in the Fifth Circuit of Appeals in Dallas is yet another part in a seemingly endless string of appeal hearings and arguments in the Wichita Falls serial killer's death row case. More than 3 decades ago, Wardrip was convicted in the stabbing, murder, and rape of 20-year-old Terry Sims. It was the DNA that finally enabled Wichita County investigators to link Wardrip to a 16-month killing spree that left 5 other young women dead. In 1999, at 40 years old, Wardrip was sentenced to death by lethal injection for the first murder and 3 life terms for the other 3 killings. He still remains on death row where for years he has been seeking to have his death sentence overturned because of ineffective representation by his court-appointed attorney. In 2011, the Fifth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals reversed a lower court ruling that ordered the state of Texas to either give Wardrip a new sentencing trial or agree to give him a life sentence. However, the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals would later dismiss Wardrip's appeal regarding inadequate representation. Back in April of 2018, a U.S. district judge agreed with a U.S. magistrate's granting Wardrip's habeas corpus motion. So, as the legal back and forth continues, Wardrip remains on death row at Polunsky Unit near Livingston. He is now 60 years old. Derek and Daniela, back to you.
Until the killer convicted of killing 5.
So that's actually not this year. He's now 62. Oh no. I wondered about that with the cold, Miguel. Please feel better, my friend. Feel better. So he's still appealing. Now, he has been on death row a long time. However, his case is not the longest one to have been on death row. There are some Texas inmates that have been on death row longer than him. But he has certainly been there a while. Don't ask me why they stay on death row all that time. And I'm thinking part of it is all of this appeal stuff. All of this stuff is part of it. I hope you feel better, Miguel. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you so much. So, does anybody have any questions? Do we have some questions about the chant about I'm looking at my Nightbot. Looks like I still have some issues with Nightbot. I know. Well, you know, it's part of your right. You have a right to appeal under the law. So that is a part of everyone's right. And it takes a while to go through all of those appeals. Yeah. Yeah, I did. And, okay, so now my story, I go back to, hey, Sunita. Oh, she's in the ads. Only watch 30 seconds, Sunita. That's all I need. So when Terry Sims was killed, I'm pretty sure, and I really cannot tell you guys that it was that night. I can't. I really, in all honesty, can't tell you. All I can tell you is that he was at my door. And that was when we lived there. Now, we moved. And we moved out. It was closer to the base. And that it was about that time that Ellen was missing. And that scared me because I knew Ellen, because I'd worked with her. Oh, it was doing the research and watching some of the stuff as it helped a little bit to write it out, to get you guys, this really helped me to talk about it. It really helped me to talk about it. So I thank you for that. But the research today did help me because I was very nervous. I waited until today to write all that stuff down. I was procrastinating big time. No, you don't. The most that you would have to, on the ones that are a short ad, they won't let you skip them. You have to watch those. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Hey, Glow. How you doing? No, the most I would ever tell you to watch of anything is if it's the non-skippable, you have to watch those, but those are usually not very long, 30 seconds or so. And then the other ones you would never have to watch more than a minute. It counts. Good. Good to see you. I am knitting. We're knitting a blanket. Oh, good. It was a song. Well, this is something fun. I never know what comes up, so it is emotional. It's still hard because, yeah, and then for all those years, like when they found Ellen, it was like they didn't have any idea what had happened, and we thought that Ellen had left and gone home, and that she just didn't tell anybody because she wasn't from this area. She was from like up north somewhere, and she was here. She had no family here, no nothing. And so we all thought that maybe she just, and Janie is the one that's she's like, no, we're good. They organized a search for her and stuff, but didn't find her. Her car came up missing, and Janie said, no, that's not right. That's not right. She says something has happened, but they didn't go anywhere. They had nothing to go on. They had no leads. They had nothing. Yeah, it is. Oh my gosh. Was it a good movie, Lori? So okay, when Terry, well, I told him, that I thought it was his brother, but I didn't open the door, and I said he just went away, but I'd scared the holy crap out of me, and then I just forgot about it. It never happened again, and I just forgot about it. Well, it wasn't until years later when Evelyn called me and said, yeah. And it was a hard time. You guys, that was a hard time back then when all this was going on. Yeah, it was I was pretty scared a lot to be by myself. And I think in part that is why I still don't like to be by myself. And another reason I wanted to have, I mean, I'm out here in the middle of nowhere. It's not like anybody's going to come out here. But having Cerberus has helped a lot too. Yes, it certainly is. Duke's outside. He's inside sometimes. Cerberus is always here. Aren't you, bub? Are you over there helping me out? How come you're not down here? Come here. Come see mommy. Let's see if I can show y'all Cerberus. There he is. There he is. There he is. Here's my ball dog, as Joyce Swenson calls him. And there's Sailor. He's peeking around the corner. Oh, you're on my blanket. Yeah. My buddy. You guys, I don't know. I don't know what we're going to do next. I do have several of them that I wrote down that we talked about on the. Come here, Sandy. That we talked about on the first. Hi, Sandy. Good to see you. There's Joyce. Yep, all dogs are fun. He completely tore one apart yesterday, Joyce. Completely. I think Sailor might be missing his mama just a little bit. Yes, I know. That doggy interruption helped diffuse that a whole bunch. A whole bunch. Didn't it? Yeah. We're doing a blanket, Sandy. We're knitting or crocheting a blanket for, it's going to be a scrap blanket. Oh, Joyce is on row 3. Yay. Yeah, he does. It was sure good to see Mr. Wright the other day. That was fun. I bet he was a hit. So this is the beginning. I will try to get more on this. But like I said, I'm going to work on Mr. Fiber's blanket and try to finish it before I do the rest of this one. Oh, I'm sorry I made you cry, Shad. You guys don't know how much it meant to me. It meant an awful lot to me that you guys supported me. I just, honestly, it's going to be so much better now because I always, with my patrons and with my members, would put my videos out to you guys before anybody else because that's just only fair. But it also would hold me back on some stuff I was trying to get out there. So now I don't have to do that. I can just put things out at my leisure, and it'll be a little easier on me too. I know it. So some of the things that we talked about on the last one, let me see. Where's my notes? Chelsea took notes, actually, you guys, and sent them to me. So we talked about Chandler Halderson, and I have not had time to check into that. We talked about the Torso Killer. Inventing Anna is a new, and I don't know if that one has started yet, but that's a new show. The Honey Street Murders at the Asylum in Olalla, Washington. H.H. Holmes. The Making of a Murderer, which is the Netflix series. I was not able to find Serial Podcast, so I don't know where to find that. I'm going to have to keep looking. Shad talked about Small Town Murders. That's a podcast. We talked about Dr. G medical examiners, Marcia Clark, and you guys, the book that I have referred to that I read on this case that I feel was the very best book about this particular case, and it is worth a read. It is worth a read because you know me, right? Okay, Chandler's guilty. Okay. Yeah, I haven't checked up on that. Oh, how wonderful, Lori. Oh. You know, Cerberus will come over and if I have just been sitting here too long, he comes over and he can sense that I'm a little bit tense, that I've just been concentrating and I need to move. And he'll just come over and he gets that ball and sits there and you gotta move, Mom. Let's move. Hey, let's go do something. Hey, stand up, and it's good. Yeah, and some dogs are very, very attentive to that. Very attentive. Duke is my hugger, y'all. I know he's my outside dog, but he's my hugger. He is the one that wants to love on me. You give me his paw. You need this. Hey, you need this. Always. He's a hugger and a lover. So what which one do we want to talk about next week then? Okay, to change colors. So, are you at the end of the row, Denise? I still have where the crawdads sing is still in my saved books. Okay, if you're at the end of the row, gosh, I think I'm a ways from that. Let me get Mr. Fiber's blanket and show you. It's really easy. Except it's so big. It's so big. So if you are finished with, so I'm going to go ahead and cut this one. Because let's say I get to the end of here, there's not enough to really, go on with it. Or just want to change color. Whatever. All right, let me figure out. Oh, there we go. All right, so I'm going to cut that. Leave a tail. Oh, got some glue or something on those. Throw that over there. Get my next color. Make it right like that. Fold it over so I've got a little tail. And then that right there, that loop right there, is going to go on the needle. Hello, Nana Michelle. Oh, thank you so much, Nana Michelle. So all you do, you got your other needle. This is the way you're going. You're going this way. You're going to put your needle in there just like as if you still had that other yarn attached. You're going to put your needle in there to the back. You got that folded over. Just put that loop right onto the needle. And now you knit it on and move forward. And you will have to kind of tighten things up a little bit more than once because it gets a little loose. Make sure you're not using the tail, that it's out of your way, and that you got the work in the yarn. And just keep going. It's that easy. It is really, really, oh, you're going, oh. Good night, Tony. Thank you so much for coming in. I appreciate it. Okay, good deal, Deneen. I'm so glad you asked me because I didn't even think about that doing this. Did it hurt, Nana Michelle, did it hurt your hands no matter what size yarn you use? Some people it hurts when you use a bigger yarn, and some people it hurts when you use a thinner yarn. Yep, that's what I'm doing. I just use all kinds of different things. Like this right here that I just cut is actually two. I just held it together. I just held the center pull and the outside strand together and knit with it. And I've got this one that's going to go in there. I think that's like, what, a hometown or something? I've got this one. This is from Edie. This is one of hers. And I wanted to put it in this. I may put this in this other blanket, actually. But it's the Pikes Peak alpacas. It's 80% alpaca, 10% merino, 10% bamboo. And that's one that Edie dyed. So I may put that in the new blanket. What else? Well, this is what I use to make my pumpkins. Oh man, I got all kinds of stuff in that bag. Yay! We got one thing checked off. Well, just remember, I do have playlists. I have knitting playlists. I need to be putting that down below. Absolutely. But you guys, if you're in the middle of a row, you can change colors the same way. Just throw that tail, cut it, or whatever it is. You come up, you've only got this much left, and you're in the middle of the row. Throw that over as the tail. Get your new yarn, fold it over, put it on, and finish the row. You go back later and you put those tails in. Oh, cool. It would take forever. It would. I do. I have another one I'm crocheting where I'm using number one yarn. And one of the projects that I have in mind to do, I was going to do all in my yarn from Popeye Yarn. And I don't know. We have to talk about that, Chelsea, because I'm thinking about changing that. But I am so, so glad you learned. Somebody learned to knit during this. Woo, woo. And those of you that are crocheting, so for the blanket, you guys, hashtag, we'll put it in here again. It should be down at the bottom. Hashtag scrap in time blanket Mal. So you can tag me on Instagram. You can put it in my Facebook group. And if you go to join the Facebook group, I'm going to say this now because Lori will tell you, you have to answer the questions. There it is. It worked. And you can email them to me. You can email me your pictures, and it is Nightbot gets a little bit crazy, but at least it does still work. It didn't even ask you questions? That's weird. Every now and then, when somebody goes to join, if I know who they are, don't tell Lori, but I will let them in. But I have to know who you are. Oh, row 5, that's amazing. You are so welcome, Deneen. That's okay. I think I'm about ready to go. I just was kind of hoping you guys would give me an idea. If there's anything I talked about that you think you might want me to cover next time. I know. It's hard to say. Good night. Good night, Denny. Good night, everybody. I will pick something fun. It may not be nearly as good as this one, but hey, we'll be here every other Friday, 7 p.m. It could be. Thank you guys so very much for being here with me. I appreciate it very much. You guys have fun today with what's left, wherever you are, and stay safe. Love you all. Good night. Well, I appreciate it, Lori. Okay, good night, everybody. Thank you so much.